wanted you to touch on maybe on the coaching side of it now. So especially when you're dealing with young kids, how you know that they take information, despite what we say or what we try to teach them. Kids are going to take the information personally. They're going to not react well to it. They're going to, all those things. So what would you say to a coach, like going into a situation, like how to make them better communicators without, obviously you're not saying, hey, coddle them, whatever. No. Like what would the advice be, and like how to communicate that with kids that might be a little more sensitive? Yeah,
age appropriate. The first thing is when you're coaching, not everybody's the same. Obviously when you get to higher levels, that changes, but not everybody's the same. If you're going to be a good coach at a higher level though, but you should understand people, and there's some people handle things differently. But that's at a different level. When you're younger, I think the first thing to understand is that we're here to have some fun. So depending on the level, the fun, it's still fun, but there has to be some lights went off again. I think we just have to move. There we go.
Circle.
But you have to, you look at your kids and you got to understand that they are kids. Their brains aren't fully developed. They are emotional. You don't know what happened in their day and stuff like that. So at that level, you have to make sure that fun is number one, and winning hockey games isn't the end all be all. But having said that, you have to explain, because your job is your job is coaching hockey. So you should have some
teaching
hockey. So if I was to say, Eric, that back check that you just had, you have to come back. You got to come back harder because, give a reason, because your team needs you to back check hard. That's how that's important. Yeah. You don't yell and scream. That wouldn't be the great thing, but you just point out what they're doing. And, it's pretty much that simple, right? I mean, there's no other way to say it. If the kid thinks that if you see a kid has taken it emotionally the wrong way, you pull him aside and you say, hey, listen, Eric, I wasn't mad at you. I was just teaching you how to play hockey so you can be the best hockey player you can be. And if that player just can never take anything like that, that's probably, it's not really the coach's fault. It's not really a coach's problem, but I think it's important in minor hockey, even at a major midget, minor midget level, that you have some sort of velvet on the sledgehammer. You shouldn't be there with your arms crossed, eyes crossed, ears crossed, nose crossed, mad at everything. Yeah. Because you are there to make the kids better people. But part of making people better is to teach them the lessons, to teach them what they've done right or wrong. So in wrong or better means instruction. Yeah. The thing is as a player, if the coach is talking to me, at least in my opinion, at least I'm doing something. Right. At least he good. Some attention is better than none at all. So I want the coach to give me feedback if I want to get better. Yeah. But anyways, as a coach, I think it's common sense, but maybe it's not. I don't know. I think you have to kind of know your guys. There's certain kids that I know that I know they're a little maybe insecure about things, and I'm aware of that. So I want to say, let's say someone's overweight, a little bit overweight, and they struggle to be fast. I know that there's going to be things that they do to overcome that because it's their own insecurity. So if a player's overweight, and I know we're doing a drill where they're going to get, they're challenged speed wise, I'm going to look for the cheating. I'm going to notice because they're going to cheat because it's an insecurity. They got to find a way. The cheating doesn't help them in hockey though. So there's one way to handle it. I could say, I could ream him in front of everybody or by himself and say, all you do is cheat. You're a cheater. You don't do things right. You're not honest with yourself, blah, 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 blah. I could say it that way. I don't know if that's helpful. Right. But I could say maybe in a group setting, if it's bothering me, that, guys, be honest in your effort. In this drill, it's going to be let's say it's a D drill, and the D is going to get challenged. I could say, D, you're going to get challenged on this drill, and you're probably going to get burnt a few times because you're at a disadvantage. But the point is not to win the battle. The point is to do it completely so that you're working on a skill. Right. So you're going to have to work on your feet and give them the coaching cues that'll make them better. If it's lights are really going out here. Now, I could take that same individual and say, okay, here's something that I've noticed. I think what I've noticed is when we're doing drills, let's say we're doing a skate at the end of the practice, I notice that you're trying to make up for your lack of speed by getting a head start, or maybe not stopping. You turn instead. You find a way to blend in so it's not so obvious. And I said, I can see it as a coach.
Yeah.
And I see it as a coach, and it's hurting you. So what I want you to do is I want you to give an honest effort. And no matter what you do, if you come in last, if you're giving me an honest effort, I'm going to be happy with that. Now, the flip side of that, if this kid's overweight, let's say, I could also say, as your coach, now I don't have to say, hey, you're fat. Yeah. But what I could say, and I've said this before, is that you need to work on your feet, your quickness, your speed. So you maybe figure out a way to do that.
Yeah, and what does that mean?
Yeah. What does it mean? Read between the lines, because it's a nice way of saying it, and they know, right? They know.
Yeah, they know.
So that's the nice way to say it, and a positive way to say it. And if the parents and the kids came back and took that the wrong way, I really don't know a better way to do it.
Right.
Because I think you're being honest and you're giving them instruction, and it's the truth.
Right.
So I could say, no, I love that you cheat. It's good that you cheat. Yeah. That's not helping.
Or ignoring it. That's lying.
Exactly, because you got other people that you're accountable to in this game. It's not tennis.
Right.
You're accountable to other people, and it's the truth. You say you want to do something, I'm helping you do it. Yeah. So these are the issues. You cheat. You're looking at ways to make it easier. You don't want to do the work, and you're overweight. So we have to fix those few things. So the cheating part, let's just say, I want an honest effort. Give me an honest effort. I'm going to be happy with that. Whatever else I said, but you know, if it's losing weight, you say it in a nice way, or you can be direct. Yeah. But there's ways to do it to be polite. Right. Now, as you get older, in junior, if you come in 20 pounds overweight, the coach isn't going to say, I feel you need to work on your speed. The coach is going to say, well, you're 20 pounds overweight, son.
You're cut.
You're cut.
Yeah.
You don't make it. Well, why? Take your shirt off.
Yeah.
Right? And that is the way it is. There's no excuses. You need to know. So anyways, but the thing is, it's not about, now, is that extreme? Does that seem harsh? Some people, you might get a message on that saying, well, you shouldn't fat shame people. And I use that as an example.
Yeah, whatever.
I just use it as an example. No, okay, let's go the opposite. Let's go a different way then. Let's say the kid, there's several kids that go through this. You're 16 years old. You haven't hit puberty to the max that some other people have. And you've got a kid that's 5'8", or 5'7" and 135 pounds, and he's going into a corner, he loses those battles. Well, that's another thing, right? And maybe he's a little bit shy, so you have to address that.
Yep.
It's okay. I know you're small, but I hope you don't take that the wrong way. But you know, you say things like you need to work on your strength. It's not saying you're too small, because that's a negative thing. And the other thing is that you don't point out. You don't point out, I was thinking about it earlier. You don't point out the person, you point out the issue, right? So if I was to say, I'm just trying to think. If a kid makes a bad pass over and over, you don't say you're shit. Yeah. You don't know how to pass. Yeah. You work on your passing is the right way. You put it into the action, not into the person. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I know I didn't explain that real well.
No, that's
but it's a way. It's not the person's a jerk. It's just, or the person is a bad person. It's the skill that needs to work on, or the.
Yeah. Well, I got a couple things on that, but touching on that last point, there was a kid last 2 weekends ago. We were talking about like the slow decision making. Yeah. Right. And.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right. So the one way you can do it is you can go and be like, dude, how are you not making that pass quicker? Right. Like, what is the deal? Right? That's one way to say it. Or you can say, hey, you see that play that's open, you make it. Right? You see it, you make it. You see it, you make it. Yeah. That's what you need to do so that we can get that puck up ice quick. Yeah. Right? That's a way to say your decisions are slow, man. Like it's the same thing, but you're putting, 100%. Like you said, velvet on the sledgehammer, right? Yeah. And that's kind of what you're talking about. Don't point out.
And sometimes it needs to be direct, though, because if you tell someone over and over, it's like, you need to make that pass.
Right.
But another way that you can do this also is ask them, like especially in youth hockey, what did you see there?
Yeah,
because I've done that with Charlie.
Really good strategy.
I've done that with Charlie. I said, what made you make that decision? And that might be from a good play, or a bad play, but he can explain something that you didn't see from your level, and he might be wrong.
Yeah.
And he might be making an excuse, but at least they're speaking and they're explaining it.
Well, I think that's probably the best strategy, because now you're forcing them to think about it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's kind of what the best situation is, because you're making them try to understand why they made the decision they made, and then if it's the wrong one, they'll be able to undress why they made it and do something else next time.
Exactly.
Instead of just, you barking commands and them not knowing the why, right? Because that's always such a huge thing.
Yeah.
Why did you do this? Understanding that, and then you can make the same decision or a different decision because you understand the reason behind it, right?
Yeah.
Which is good. But I wanted to touch on a couple things. You said about honesty. That's probably the best thing as a coach to have, and that doesn't mean be a dick. That's not what that means.
No, you don't have to be a dick.
Yeah, but being honest, framing things in order to get the honest answer out, that's a really good strategy, and that takes the ability of communicating effectively, right?
Yeah.
So as a coach, like you're talking about, these are really nuanced things that you're talking about, how to talk to certain kids, the way to package the message, all of these things. And if you're a coach, you need to develop those skills, especially in minor hockey when the kids are young and they're going to take things emotionally, right? You need to be able to relay, or even if you're a parent and you're trying to relay a message to your kids.
You know what's hard though? It took me a while to do this because I was always, if you've never been this is funny too. If you've never been benched and embarrassed, you'll never know what this feels like. But I remember playing my first year in the OHL, and my first couple games I played great. Thought I fit right in. Third game, one shift, and I was literally sitting on the bench going, like, did you forget about me? And just fighting tears, and probably didn't fight them. Like, it was so bad, and that feeling sucks.
Right.
Where someone doesn't explain anything to you, right? So yeah, when you're coaching, it's like you should find a way, because so it took me a few years to be completely honest with people. So I'm honest. I'm honest as a day as long as someone asks me a question. But I've learned how to say it with a little velvet on the sledgehammer. Yep. So for example, if someone's just not good enough, I won't just say you're just not good enough, because that's not up to me. That's up to them. And it's hurtful. So I try not to hurt people's feelings, but I would say there's a gaps in your game that you really need to get better to get to the next level. And I'll give them 2 or 3.
Right.
And that's one way, but you can always be truthful.
Yeah. And that's what I'm like,
because you don't want to give information that, oh no, you're doing really good.
No.
And you're good to go. And then the draft comes, or you get cut from a team or something. It's like, well, coach said.
Well, then you're not doing your job,
That's
right? When you're the coach. Their job is to teach them, right? And that is what you're supposed to do. And framing things honestly, like, it would be great if the junior coaches and pro coaches were great communicators, but sometimes you don't get that. No. But what we're saying here is, especially in minor hockey, when they're just really young and they're going to be emotional and take things personally because they don't know any better, you should really take pride in trying to be a good communicator and trying to communicate effectively and talking to the kids and making sure they understand what they're doing. And that's what you can do in this situation to try to make sure that the kids can take these messages, right? Yeah. And you can even talk to them like how we're talking. Like, this isn't I'm not criticizing you as a person. Like, we're just talking about hockey, right?
I want you to be a better hockey player. And you always use that. Always use that. I want you to be the best you can be. I say that all the time. I want you to win, man. I want you to win the game of life. I want you to, at the end of this thing, I want you to say that coach was great because he taught me so much.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know what? He actually told me what I was doing wrong. The biggest thing about, well, you've seen this with our camps. Kids come to our camps and they're 14 years old. Maybe for the first time they come to a camp and they've been there for 2 hours. And they say, I learned more in 2 hours than I learned my whole life in hockey. Yeah. That's what they say.
That's like common.
It's what they say. Yeah. I've learned more this week than I've learned in my whole life of hockey. I can't wait to come back because they're learning. I truly believe that kids that play hockey want to get better. They do. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they don't want to do the work, and that's part of, not the problem, but that's why it separates the wheat from the chaff, if that's a thing. Yeah. But the kids want to get better. So being a coach, I think it's if you can get the message out, great. But if you don't, the kid has to take responsibility for what's the coach actually saying to them. Right. And because I know they want to get better. Yeah. Because if I can show you one thing that's going to make your game better, you're going to want that.